your source for everything paranormal. Para-X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Welcome to Stirring the Cauldron. Now, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
Hey, Merry May everybody, and welcome once again to Stirring the Cauldron here on the Para-X Radio Network. Now, I'm just kind of chuckling because I'm reading some comments from chat because the opening music tonight was Christmas Overture by Midnight Syndicate, and that was from their album Christmas, A Ghostly Gathering. And the song sounded a little bit off and a little out of tune, and that's exactly what I wanted tonight, because some people around this time of year get kind of out of tune and a bit off, and they're missing their loved ones around the holidays. And because of that, Echo Bodine is here with us tonight to kind of help sort things out and answer any questions you might have that go along with that empty chair syndrome that we hear about so often. Now, Echo is a psychic, medium, author of several wonderful books. She's also a teacher, a lecturer, and a whole lot more. She first discovered that she was born with psychic abilities and the gift of healing at the age of 17. And then she went on to teaching classes on psychic development and spiritual healing, which she learned from her guides and through prayer and meditation. Her work has been featured in many major newspapers, magazines, and she's appeared on several national TV shows, including The View and Beyond with James von Prague and NBC's Later Today. And she's also served as a consultant in the movie industry as well. So like I said, she lectures throughout the country on intuition, on spiritual healing, on life, death, life after death, and that's why I asked her to pop in tonight. The holidays are kind of a magical time, but it's also a time of nostalgia and remembering the good times with loved ones who aren't with us anymore, well, at least not in the flesh. So I couldn't think of a better person to come on and talk about all this than Echo. And surprisingly and happily, she said yes, because she's always so busy. I was really pleased. So, Echo, welcome back, and thank you for joining me. It's been a really long time, actually.
I know, sweetie, it has. I was trying to remember, but my memory just...
Mine too.
My memory goes back that far. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
It's nice to be back. It's nice to be back with you. Nice. One of my favorite topics is talking about our loved ones on the other side. So this will be nice. It'd be very
Yeah.
nice to just hang out with you for an hour.
Well, yeah, and the chat room, like I said, they can, if they have any questions and scratching their head about things going on there, they're more than welcome to ask. But I really thought it was important to talk about this time of year and how it affects people, because nostalgia can be kind of a double-edged sword, both happy and sad. So I think a good place to begin is by talking a little bit about what goes on the other side, maybe at this time of year also, because, we hear things like, well, once spirit crosses over, earthly matters aren't very important anymore. Or, they're just too busy doing other things to pay attention to the calendars that we have. So, I mean, in your experience, how much attention do they pay to earthly matters once they've crossed over? And, what's the holidays like over there if they choose to celebrate them?
Yeah, they do choose to celebrate them on the other side, and that's not true. Once they cross over, that they're no longer interested in Earth. Honey, really, what I have found is that when somebody wants to communicate with a deceased loved one who's been gone longer than 20 years. I've seen this place in heaven that they call inner heaven. And it seems like people that have been gone for 20 years or more live in that area of heaven. And, I mean, it's a huge area. Don't let me give you the impression it's this little teeny area, because it's not. But that's the folks that I see have let go of Earth. They're not so tied to it anymore. Those are the folks that don't know what day it is here on Earth. And the other folks, people up until around 20 years, they still check in with their loved ones. And, Marla, I've also seen people when I've gone to family gatherings at Christmas time, not my family, but other families, I see their deceased loved ones there in the room with them, sitting at the table or milling around, just being with their loved ones. And so the people on the other side, they do enjoy Earth time. They come, they visit. They like to visit when all of the family is together. So it's not uncommon. I know with my old boyfriend, whenever we would go to his families for dinner, his dad, who had been deceased for quite a while, he was always sitting at the table with everyone. And it was interesting, too, because people would start talking about him. And so you wonder, okay, are they tuning into the fact that he's actually here, which none of them talked like, is Dad here, but they would suddenly just start talking about him, and they wouldn't talk about him at, say, the other holidays. So I think it could either be just the memories of that person, or that person's soul could actually be visiting and sitting at the table.
Well, let me ask you this. We also hear, that different reports from different people, depending on your belief system, that when we hear on the earth plane talk about an ancestor, a relative or something, that they actually do hear us, and that kind of draws them down.
Honey, it doesn't always draw them down. And yes, they do have lives on the other side. We can get very busy doing things over there. And so, people can hear their name being called, or they can hear people talking about them, but they don't necessarily come here like to answer or to find out what's being said. But they can be tuned in. That's why a lot of times I say to people, if you want to talk to your mom, just don't say, "Hey, Mom," because how many millions of moms are in heaven? So it's a good idea to say their name and just say, "Hey, Mom, so and so, your name. I'm thinking about you. I hope you're doing good. I wish you'd come and visit us sometime." And they get the message. It's really sweet the way it works.
I like that. it's kind of the open channel, not that we necessarily know that they do or they respond to us, but at least it's good to know that they do.
Yeah.
And especially, there are people that, how people around the holidays get around the table and start talking about someone who's not with us anymore, but it was someone they didn't care for.
Yeah.
And so they'll sit there and they'll tell all these really bad stories about that person. So now we know that person is listening on the other side. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, they could definitely be listening. Or, maybe if they knew that person didn't like them, they might just turn a deaf ear to the whole conversation.
That would probably be
safer. They
safer.
can do that. So they can just go get themselves busy and forget about what's going on Earth. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, maybe some of them need to hear it in a sense, because that's the learning process. But, people don't change your spots. If you don't like me here, you're not going to like me there probably. So, they're not quite as forgiving.
Honey, I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people think that when we die, we automatically become kind of angelic-like, and that's just not the way it goes. We are on the other side the way we are on this side, and I know that's hard for some people to hear. I just had somebody the other day ask me about that because her dad passed away, and he wasn't a very pleasant guy, and she's hoping that once he gets to heaven, he'll become a nice guy. And I said, well, he has to have a desire, first of all, to become a nice guy. He has to have a desire to change, and death doesn't just automatically make us a nice person.
No, it doesn't. No. But, we buy into the media, angels with wings and harps and white fluffy clouds.
I know.
Yeah, and so I'm sure that comes to play.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a question from the chat room. Cece wants to know, she says, haunting reports increase this time of the year, just as, is it just a thin veil, or this time of year, do they miss us and we miss them equally, or is it just the longing that brings them back? How does...
Well, okay, hauntings. I mean, that's different than visits from deceased loved ones. So I'm not sure really, because when I hear the word hauntings, it makes me think of Halloween, and they say that the veil gets thinner. I don't know if that's really true, and I don't know if there seems to be more hauntings around the fall because we're focusing more on ghosts. In my world, there's ghosts all the time, and so I don't see an increase in ghost activity around Halloween than any other time. And I don't see the veil getting thinner just at Halloween time. I think that the veil, and for people who don't know what the veil is really is simply just, it's like it's what would you call it?
A partition or a curtain?
Yeah, it's like that. Between this dimension and the next dimension, and it's it's not this really thick thing that thins every once in a while. It's just it like you said, it's a partition between our world and the other world. And we think a lot about ghosts around Halloween, and we like being scared, and TV always shows lots of scary movies, and so we think that it seems like there's a lot more ghosts and ghost activity. But really, at least in my line of work as a Ghostbuster, we've always had just as many calls during springtime and winter as we do around fall. Now, I'm thinking that her question might mean something different. Would you read me the question again, honey?
Yeah. After we get through the veil part, she says, is it just the thin veil, or do they miss us, or we miss them, or just a longing that brings them back?
I think it's all of it. A longing. Also, they miss us, And that's something that a lot of people don't realize. That's another one of those misconceptions, is that people think when we die, we just, yippee skippy, we go on to heaven and we forget about our loved ones here. But that's not realistic. The truth is that when a soul passes and they go on to the other side, of course they still miss the people here and they miss their old life. And a soul can go through a grieving process also, just like we do. And, if they can handle coming back and visiting at holiday time, then they are allowed to come. But if the elders on the other side feel that, no, you're still too emotional, it would be very hard for you to come to Earth, visit your loved ones, and then come back home. So we think that you should stay here for now. And, that's the thing, too, is they can observe us from the other side. And so they can, I've actually seen, honey, when we watch medical shows on TV, they always have that gallery where the other doctors are watching the surgeries take. And I've seen a room on the other side very similar to that, where they can sit in a room like that and then view their loved ones here on this side. And that's for the folks who it might just be too soon for them to come back, or it might be too emotional for them to come back.
Now, see, that brings up a couple of questions or a couple of points in my mind, because I always kind of thought that once somebody crossed over, they had the free will to come back and forth as they saw fit. Now, you're saying that perhaps the elders are keeping them in closer range, especially the newbies, maybe.
Yeah, the newbies.
And, I didn't know that they were looked after in that respect, and kind of, well, no, maybe it isn't time, maybe you're too emotional, like you said. I didn't know that they could suggest, I'm sure they can't make them stay back, but I'm sure they can suggest and strongly suggest that they don't for whatever reason. But I never gave that any thought. I just assumed that once you're there, you can, have the free will to come and go as you please. So that's kind of interesting. Thank you.
No, we don't, honey. And, sometimes I've seen souls that they really want to come here and visit, but, like the elders will feel like, oh, no, you're way too vulnerable, and you might get stuck there. You could easily become earthbound because you miss your family so much, and so we're going to suggest that you stay here for a while, and then we'll let you know when it seems like it's a safe venture for you to go out on. Yeah, they're very protective of us because they know, when we're first over there, we're really torn. It's nice not to be in physical pain anymore. It's nice to, heaven is such a beautiful place. And so, we look out and we're just, most souls feel really grateful that the death occurred so that they can now relax and not be in physical pain anymore. But there's also just as many souls who are sad that they're deceased and they've left their loved ones, and here comes Christmas, this kind of thing. And those are the ones that the elders will watch out for and just, suggest, no. You know what? How about if you watch your family from here, and you can send loving thoughts and you can receive their loving thoughts. But we think it's wisest if you just stay here on this side. And they do it again out of love and wanting to protect us.
Now, who exactly are the elders? Clearly, they're probably not human spirits, right?
Honey, they were. They are souls who have been to Earth. They've finished their incarnations, and so they don't have to keep coming back. But they are souls who have a very deep understanding of what it's like to be human, and then go back over to the other side, and then go back again, and come back and go back, and they've gone through the whole realm of schooling, I guess we'll call it, and they've just got amazing wisdom and compassion. Compassion is a big one with the elders.
Yeah,
a lot
it would,
of compassion.
it would have to be. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that all right, let's take one more hierarchy step on this. Who is above the elders?
The angels are above the elders.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I like the hierarchy, and it just, it plays up. All right, can we go one step above the angels?
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, honey. There's even the highest level, and that's where, at least what I've seen, is that there's 7 levels on the other side, and the highest level is what we would all consider to be nirvana. It's just amazing there. And what's cool about that, the highest level, is that all the souls there on that level have gone through all the schooling that they can, and they have a complete understanding of their oneness with God, their oneness with each other, and yet they remain. Let's see. I want to say this correctly. Their individuality still remains, but they are. Oh God, they're a part of the bigger picture, and that's what we're all striving for, is to be in that place. It's just a really beautiful place, and all of our souls are striving to get there.
And time doesn't matter. I mean, because time there is different than here. So in its own due time, it happens, right? I mean, going up the
That's
levels.
right, honey.
Yeah,
That's right.
Okay. It's an easier way to say it.
Yep.
All right. Now, we're talking about being able to call them or have them with us at Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever. Now, in the pagan world, and I'm guessing in other cultures as well, there's one tradition that's followed, and it's called a dumb supper or a silent supper. And what it is, it's a very ancient tradition where those who have passed attend the living for a night of kind of communication and communion. And it's sort of an open invitation for the living and the spirits to dine together. And what is done is we set a chair at the head of the table. Okay. And some people shroud it with black fabric to represent a spirit chair, but most people know the empty chair is what it is. Right. And it's usually it's a given that the empty chair is the place of honor, that the invisible guest or guests are the guests of honor. And then a place setting is set down for the spirit with a candle in the center of the plate, and the names of the invited spirits are written down and placed under the plate. But it's kind of welcome for any weary travelers that want to stop by, those that are passing through and kind of pick it up, that there's something there. And then when the food is served, that place always gets served first. And from there, people have different ways of conducting the dinner. I mean, for example, some people begin by pouring a libation into a cup at the head of the table where the spirit chair is, and they all call a loved one, with a prayer. Others say a prayer of thanks at the end of the dinner. Some people choose to eat in silence. Others, can talk to their loved ones and share memories during dinner. It's just not a dinner to grumble and gripe about and be a sour mood, you had a flat tire today or something like that. It's kind of a very sweet place. And that is a tradition that I've always thought was really kind of wonderful. Usually the host of the dinner sits in the chair opposite the guest of honor's chair, and the prayers at the end and the camaraderie and everything from everybody at the table. It's really a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm. Sounds wonderful.
Yeah, very spiritual, I think. And
really nice.
You never know, and especially if it's somebody who can actually, feel spirit there or see spirit there, that makes it so much better, because you can have somebody saying, well, so-and-so is sitting there, or so-and-so, you can pick it up. But even if everybody can't see, you kind of feel the love. That's kind of the way it goes. Yep. And talking about love, it's said that love never dies. But while there are those who stay on the other side for a long time, others choose a quick turnaround and reincarnate quickly. And in thinking about that, I began to wonder about reincarnation and how quickly some souls can come back. Although I think a premature reentry probably isn't a good idea, and that's where maybe the elders are going to step in. But, we're supposed to study and learn between lives. But any thoughts on the reincarnation process and quick and, whatever?
Yes, I do have some thoughts on that. And that, what I've learned, what I've been taught is that they recommend 60 life, 60, let's see, I want to say this better, 60 Earth years in between lives.
Okay.
They recommend that. But there are souls that can come right back, and I'm not sure, Marla, I should tell you this interesting story.
Do.
Lady came to me many years ago. She wanted to know who her baby was. And, and she didn't tell me anything about anything. So I closed my eyes, and the voice says to me, the baby is her husband. And I thought, am I hearing this correctly? The baby is her husband. So I asked again, okay, come on, you guys, help me. I got to be clear about this. No, the baby is her husband. Oh, man. Okay. So I said to her, well, it sounds like your baby is your husband. And she said, oh, my God, I just knew it. And so then she told me the story that her husband, he was in the hospital, he had cancer, and he called her one night and said, come to the hospital, I want to make love to you before I die. And she said, you haven't been able to do that for a really long time. And he said, well, I can tonight. And he said, and I've asked their nurses to give us alone time. So she went to the hospital, and she said they made love, and he died, I think it was the next day, and 3 months later she found out she was pregnant. Okay, so she gives birth to this little boy 9 months later, and she said he not only looks just like my husband, but he has all of his mannerisms. And she said, and every day I look at this baby and I think, I know you're my husband. Okay, so in that case, I talked to his soul, and his soul said, yes, he still wanted to be with her, and he still had a lot to learn, and he did learn a lot from having the cancer, but he asked permission to be born back into this family, and it was granted. It's like, oh my gosh. And so she gave birth to her husband. So in that case, and then I saw an image of a little boy that was kidnapped. And, it was so interesting because after he was kidnapped, a lot of us here in Minnesota were trying to find this boy, and a lot of psychics. And I could never find his soul. Because I'd go to the other side, I'd project over there, I'd go, okay, is he here? Nope, he's not here. And I thought, okay, he must be alive. And a lot of us felt like he must be alive, but none of us could find where he was. Okay, well then it came out in the news that he had died, that his kidnapper had killed him and buried him the very same day. And so I thought, okay, now what? Why couldn't I find his soul? Why? Where was he? And they showed me an image that the same day that his physical body was being buried, his soul went into the body of a baby. And they said that he was allowed to be born right away again because he had chosen to be the kidnapped child, so that because his mother was really significant in later, or as years passed, she was very significant in creating the Amber Alert and creating, I don't know what they're called, but missing and abducted children. She started this whole thing. And so he chose to be that child that would be kidnapped, but he was also given permission to be born right away again. So I thought that was really interesting, too. Yeah. Because, again, what they say is, and Edgar Cayce said this, too, that it's recommended that there's 60 years in between lives, just because then the soul can rest, and then when it's born again, it's not confused about its identity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and okay, another interesting point, I guess I keep going off subject, but it's fascinating. When people come back, some people will have no recognition of anything that happened before, while other souls will. They'll get here and they'll know that they've been here before. Now, is there a difference between a young soul and an old soul? Or, exactly. why are some kind of,
Yeah, honey, that's what it is
young and old soul.
Yeah, young and old souls. And older souls, oh gosh, I mean, older souls, they've been, think about it, they've been here 100-200 lifetimes, and so there's a real sense of, I've been here before. I mean, they can tell you different places that they've been. They can describe different places, whereas a younger soul who hasn't been here very often, there's no sense of being connected to this place at all. So it is about being a younger soul or an older soul. Now, that brings up another point, which is, some psychics say, Edgar Cayce said, we were all created at the same time, 10 billion years ago, I think he said, all of our souls. Okay, and that there aren't any new souls being created. Well, as much as I don't want to go against what Mr. Cayce says, my guides have said that, yes, there are new souls that are continuing to be created, and what they say is that God is such a creative, such a creative energy, it's like God almost can't help but continue to create more and more souls. And so that's where we get younger souls.
And okay, so there's a lot of people like you. I have certain abilities. Other people have, similar abilities. So are we the ones that are the older souls?
Yeah, honey. What I've been taught is that spiritual people, older souls, they will come back into their life, and they might start out in a religion, but they move away from religion and move into spirituality. And that's what I've learned from my guides, is that that's the sign of an older soul is when they walk away from religion. I mean, they take from it what is helpful for them to learn and to grow and to heal, but they move away from religion and move into spirituality.
That's funny, because I saw a banner, and I might have mentioned this before, but it said that spirituality comes from the soul, religion comes from the mind.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Kind of made sense a little bit, but and then there's that fine line. You don't have to give up one for the other. You can be both as well. I mean,
That's right. Exactly.
But I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I can always kind of tell a younger soul from an older one.
No, you're not crazy, honey. You're not crazy. You know, I can feel them too. I mean, it's so interesting with younger souls because they don't have a depth to them that an older soul has developed. That's just because of having so many lifetimes.
Yeah, it's like a kid growing up.
Yeah. Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the whole process is so amazing.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, there's so many layers to it. We could talk for 6 hours about this and not even scratch the surface.
Yeah.
But is it easier for us? We were talking about the veil a little while ago. Is it
Yep.
easier for us to cross the veil to them, or is it easier for them to come here? I mean, it's a process of kind of meeting an astral plane, right?
Right.
Um,
Yep. You
but
know, like when we have dreams at night of our loved ones, our deceased loved ones, and we
Mhm,
wake up in the morning and we go, "Wow, that really seemed real." Okay.
mhm,
Okay. That's where we do meet in the middle. You know,
mhm,
between they come halfway here, we go the other way halfway
mhm.
there, and that's where a lot of these interactions and these experiences happen, is in that astral plane. And I think it's easier for all of us to do it that way instead of us going all the way to heaven. But we can, at night when our body is sleeping and our soul is traveling, we can go to the other side and we can visit our loved ones. And they can come here and visit us. So it isn't like hard for either of us to go to one place or the other, but I think that I would guess for all souls it would just be easier if everybody kind of met in the middle, you know?
Yeah, it would. But when we're in that dream state, now I remember you talking about, and this might be a sad subject for the holidays, but you were talking about before your mom passed, and you
Yep.
went across with her to kind of take her there and show her there and whatever. So you've been there willingly. Now I, on the other hand, and I've told this before and I'll tell it really quick, I had an elderly cousin who one night I dreamt that she and I were walking in the clouds, and we came across her husband who had passed like 2 years before. And nothing was said. We walked towards him, and I took her hand and I put it in his. And then I woke up, and then and the next morning I thought, what the heck was that? I didn't try to go anywhere, do anything. It just came. It just happened. And I thought, boy, that was some dream. No, it wasn't a dream. Yeah, it was a dream. You vacillate. And then I got to work, and a couple of hours later, the phone rang there, and it was her nephew. And I said, she passed, didn't she?
Wow.
And he says, how do you know? and when he said, how do you know? I was afraid to say, but I said, I kind of took her there, or something. I mean, it was just,
Good for you.
No, what do you
God,
say?
most people wouldn't say that. Good for you.
He was an open-minded guy. I didn't think he was going to have me committed or anything. But yeah, I mean, but so when you took your mother across, it was purposefully. You set out to do it and you went.
Right.
Me, I just ended up there, and it was like, huh? So and I've heard that from people that want to cross the astral plane. They want to get to the astral plane, and you read all these things about how to do it and how to meditate and how to, and you feel the vibration, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But most people say they can't do it. And then it I don't think there's a trick to it, but I've tried on my own. Didn't work. Maybe I didn't try hard enough. Maybe I didn't do it right. But I would sit there and think, okay, no, this is where I'm going. Let's see who I see. I'm going to recognize somebody. Never get off the launch pad. Is the way to put it.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard of the Monroe Institute, right? Have you, honey? Where is it? Over in Virginia, I think. And they teach people how to consciously astral project. And I think what it is, I mean, so I'm trying to think right now, I think all the times that I've astral projected,
It's
I don't know
probably
if I.
second nature to you, so you probably don't even think about it, right?
Yeah, you're right, honey. I don't think of it. Boy, I can't remember. I um I do remember one time I wanted to visit a friend of mine who was in prison, and I just wanted to check and see how he was doing. And I laid down on my couch, and I said to my soul, I really, really want to go see so and so, and my body fell asleep, but there I was in the prison, and I was walking behind him, observing him, and I saw that he had this big egg, like he had gotten into a fight with somebody and had this big egg
goose
on his
egg on his
forehead.
head, yeah, or whatever, yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, what a bummer, and I wonder what happened. And then I was thinking, okay, am I imagining this? And then the next thing I knew, my body woke up, and I felt really sad because I had seen him, and I thought, oh, he just looked so sad. And then, let's see, I can't remember if I talked to him on the phone, but I asked him, I said, do you have a big noggin on your head? And he said, yeah, how do you know that? And I said, I had a dream. That's all. I mean, I wasn't going to say I came and visited, but he said, yeah, that he had gotten into a fight with somebody, and he had this big noggin on his head. And but what was interesting was that when I woke up, I felt really sad, and I remember thinking, oh, I don't want to do this astral projection stuff because I always feel sad when I wake up. And but it has continued. I mean, I've continued to have it happen, and really all I do is I just lay down and I say to my soul, I would really like to go visit so and so, and then my body falls asleep, but then my whole consciousness is I'm a soul, and I'm just standing in somebody's living room, looking at them, or I'm someplace else, and then the next thing I know, poof, my body wakes up. Yeah, it's very interesting.
And I think it's important. Some people may not know what we're talking about with astral travel, but it's not only that we go to heaven. I mean, it's possible to, right, like you did. You just popped over to jail. And the same thing kind of happens if I do Reiki healing on somebody distant.
Okay.
I can, I kind of try to focus in on them, and I'll often see that, yes. I kind of know what the basic thing is, because if you're doing healing, it's like, okay, what hurts? What do you need to be healed for? But then it goes one step farther, and somebody with a bad back will say, well, I have a bad back and this and that, and I will concentrate on it, and I'll see lightning right at a certain spot in the back kind of thing. I mean, I think they give us what we understand, in our own language. So I get the simple things. Okay, there's a backache. It feels like a jabbing pain. Okay, it's lightning. Or, I'll see something like a big red flashing thing on a certain body part. That's where it hurts kind of thing. So I guess that in a way, and I didn't think about this until we were just talking about it, but that in a way is kind of astral.
Yep, I agree with you.
I never.
Yeah, you know what, Marla? My teacher told me a long time ago. She said, "Echo, you do more healing work in your sleep than you do in your physical body." And she said, and it's because your soul can go and reach so many people at night, and you're limited by your physical body. So, Marla, I'm sure that's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Well,
you're just out there doing healing work at night. And my teacher said to me, Echo, don't get upset with yourself, because I sleep 9 hours a night. And she said, you're doing way more healing work in your sleep. Don't get upset with yourself. It's just the way that it is. And Marla, I've actually had letters or emails from people saying, last night I sat on the side of my bed and I said out loud, Echo Bodine, if you could come and channel a healing to me tonight, because I'm in so much pain. And I woke up this morning and I have no more pain. Or I've had people say they woke up in the middle of the night and they saw me standing over them channeling healing Now, I'm not conscious of any of this stuff, but
Right.
I bet you that's what you're doing.
Well, I'm doing it not just to sleep. I'm doing it awake. I mean, I'll just sit here and kind of go into a meditation and do it.
Yep, I get it. Yep.
So, I mean, it probably I'm doing double duty then, sleep and awake or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's really kind of interesting because people say, well, if you go to astral, you're only going to meet your loved ones. Well, you can, but that's not the only people you can meet, I mean, so yeah.
That's right, honey. Oh my gosh.
Explaining. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Another question, we hear that we're talking about sadness on the holidays. We hear that when we grieve long and hard for someone, we interfere with them being able to move on and they remain earthbound. Now, how true might that be?
It's really up to the person, the soul that's died. Now, if they're feeling really bad and like, oh my God, look at all the sadness I've caused this person, I better stay here with them, then they can remain earthbound. But I've also seen the elders intervene with some people when they die and their family is just really distraught. And I've seen the elders come in and just whisk that person back to the other side, like, oh no.
Okay, good.
Oh no, we know you and you're going to get stuck in this, and oh no, come on, you're coming with us. And off they go to the other side. So it just depends, sometimes, okay, it's kind of like if a soul needs to learn how to let go of their loved ones, if God, honey, how am I trying to say this? It's like if a soul is real codependent and they feel like, oh, I couldn't possibly do this to my family, I couldn't possibly leave them, I better stay here and take care of them, then they can remain earthbound. And then there's other souls, like I said, who just get whisked away so that they don't stay stuck and stay earthbound, thinking that they should be here for their loved ones. So it's really about the soul's growth, what they need, and what the elders think is best for the soul that died. But yeah, I've seen some souls that are really tortured souls because they feel like they need to stay here and take care of their loved one because their loved one is so distraught. And it's really sad, that it's like, oh my gosh, you guys, no, you don't have to do this. But they feel like, no, they can't go on. Oh, you know what, Marla, here's a really good example. When the Columbine kids, when that happened, I don't even remember how many years ago now, but those Columbine kids left or died. I checked in with their soul that day, and it was really a really cool experience. I was down in Arkansas doing a workshop, and I just went off to my cabin, and I just sat down, and I tuned into each soul. And it was really cool. But there was one boy who, I felt so bad for him because I could hear him. Okay, it was really cool because I saw his grandfather who was on the other side. I saw his grandfather come here, and he said, come on, I'm going to take you over to the other side. And the boy said to his grandpa, he said, no, I can't go. He said, my mother is going to be suicidal now that I've died. I'm her whole world. And he said, I need to be with my mother. And he said, I'll come over when I feel like she'll be okay. And so I saw him sitting there with her, and she was just, she was totally beside herself. Okay, so like 3 months later, I checked in. He was still there. 6 months later, I checked in. He was still sitting there with her. And she was still in as much pain 9 months later than she was that first day. Well, then it came out on the news that a year after the accident, one of the mothers of the kids committed suicide. And I knew right away that it was her. And I checked in, and yes, it was her, and he took her over to the other side.
Wow.
But I mean, that kid, he felt so bad for her, and he felt so responsible for her that he just sat there with her every day.
Well, that's love, you know,
Yeah.
and sometimes you can't make somebody do something they don't want to do. I mean, I know that there are spirits who initially, some of them are afraid to pass, because they're, you know, like maybe they think they've been sinned, they're going to go to hell. You know, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why spirits might stay on the earth plane out of fear, but I think eventually that kind of gets worked out too, doesn't it?
Yep, it does.
Yeah. It's kind of, it's just so interesting about people, because again, you think, you know, okay, well, I've just passed and I'm going to grow the wings. I'm flying up to the pearly gate. St. Peter's going to let me in, and I'm going to see all my loved ones. And that also doesn't always happen. You don't, you know, run up there and I want to see my mother, my great grandmother. You don't always. They may be off doing something else.
Right, honey.
You know, so go ahead.
You know, honey, the thing is that's cool, though, is that, like, let's say, you know, you or I, one of us is going to die tonight. Okay. All the souls that know us on the other side, they're going to be told that, hey, Echo is dying on November 30th. And, oh, okay, so everybody, I mean, I see more family reunions at the time that the person dies, and they're all on the other side. They're just waiting. There's this big reunion. Oh my God, everybody's so happy to see each other. That is more often the case.
Good.
Is that all the loved ones on the other side are alerted that that person is going to be dying that day, and so they're all there to greet them. And some of them are standing in the tunnel and they greet them that way. Others are in the hospital room or in the hospice place, and they're there to take them on to the other side. It's just so different for everybody because, you know, some people, they've been drugged out for weeks, and now their body finally gives out, and the soul finally comes out of the body, and they're just exhausted. They've used all their energy to fight the dying process. And so that soul is very, very weary, and maybe probably a loved one, has come from the other side to take them home. Then other folks, you know, they die, boom, even before the car accident or whatever, the soul comes out of the body. Yeah. Yippee skippy, I'm going home. You know, they're just, it's about the age of the soul. If the soul is familiar with death, it's just going to pop out and go over to that light, whereas a younger soul might kind of linger and not really know what to do, and it's just so different with everybody.
I know, and you know what, we're going to have to do this again because there's just so many questions that keep popping up when, you know, we talk about one thing and 10 questions pop up, so we really need to do this again sooner than later. But in the meantime, because time is really short, I want to give you a chance to tell everybody where they can get a hold of you, your website and all that. And then I want you to talk about your weekly Facebook live chats these days.
Okay, sweetie. Thank you for reminding me to do that. First of all, I would like to tell people that I wrote a book called What Happens When We Die, and it's been, a lot of people have said it's really helped them or a loved one through the dying process. So if you, one of the listeners, or if someone in your family is going through a dying process right now, I would highly recommend getting the book because it'll help a lot. Right now on my Facebook pages, I have 3 Facebook pages. One is Echo Lee Bodine, the other one is Echo Bodine, and then the other one is the Center for Intuitive Living. And I've been doing these kind of weekly live posts. Just, you know, my intuition will say, okay, let's do one on fear. A couple weeks ago, we did one on suicide. The other day, we did one on sexual harassment. And then yesterday, I think it was yesterday or Tuesday, I did one on the holidays and just how to, you know, get through them. And they're very helpful. People say that they're very helpful. I keep them down to about 2 minutes. And it's just friendly little suggestions for people so that, I just don't want people to feel alone or like, there's nobody out there that understands them. And so that's why I do these little posts, just to connect with other people.
And people don't have to see it
out.
live. Yeah. I was gonna say,
go ahead, honey.
I was just going to say they don't have to be there live to do it because you're posting them. So if they find you on Facebook, they can go back and listen to all of them. They don't run away very quickly. I just wanted people to know that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's one on intuition. There's one on psychic abilities. One on fear. Wow, that one was huge. A lot of hits on that one. And then the one I think that's gotten the most hits is the one I did about a month ago on suicide. That's gotten about 5,500 hits. And lots of people thinking about suicide these days. So,
well, you're doing the right thing, and you're doing it well because people listen to you, people respect you, and give us your website address in case people want to go looking at your website and find you.
It's echobodine.com. It's really simple. I try to keep everything really simple. And if another book I wrote called Look for the Good and You'll Find God, there's a whole row of pictures that go along with that book. And so if you are someone who has read that book or are interested in reading it, look for the good and you'll find God. And then you'll see when you go on the website, there's a little button called More, and it'll tell you where the pictures are. Each chapter has a picture that goes along with the story, and they're pretty cool pictures. So that's it.
That's it, and we are out of time, so thank you so much. And again, we're going to do this again because it's a never-ending subject, and we just really need to talk about it.
Yeah, and, we do.
And so thank you, and I want to thank everybody for listening in, and I want to thank everybody in advance who's going to hear the podcast. And until next time, everybody, blessed be, and merry meet again. Good night.
Good night.
This has been another edition of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. Be sure to tune in next week at this same time for another great guest and more cauldron stirring. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without explicit permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2014. Moonlight Hall by Kevin MacLeod, licensed through Incompetech.com.